In September 1996, CIA officer Gary Schroen flew into ruined Kabul carrying a bag of cash. He sat in the cabin of a passenger jet, where the seats had been ripped out to make room for unsecured cargo, headed for a secret meeting with a commander the agency hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Schroen was there to see Ahmed Shah Massoud. The CIA's primary mission now was a strange reversal of their Cold War strategy. They were offering massive cash bounties to buy back the fearsome Stinger missiles they had flooded into the country years earlier. The urgency was driven by a new arrival. Osama bin Laden had recently returned to Afghanistan, using the lawless landscape to officially declare war on the United States and its interests. Despite this threat, the CIA had exactly 0 stations and 0 agents left in Afghanistan to monitor bin Laden's network. The country was no longer even on the agency's official list of intelligence-gathering priorities. The intelligence vacuum of 1996 resulted from a specific chain reaction of paranoia that had blinded 2 superpowers exactly 17 years earlier. By 1979, the Afghan communist government was losing control. Rural populations were rising up against forced secular reforms, and mutinies within the army were fueling a massive Islamic uprising. Inside the Kremlin, the KGB watched the collapse with growing panic. They became fixated on the new Afghan leader, Hafizullah Amin, a man they found increasingly unpredictable and arrogant. Soviet intelligence suffered a total collapse of logic. Because Amin had once lived in New York and was meeting with U.S. diplomats, the KGB convinced themselves he was a secret CIA plant sent to hand Afghanistan over to America. In reality, the CIA had no such plot. American intelligence at the time had very little understanding of Afghan politics and possessed almost no influence over the players in Kabul. But the Soviets acted on their false intelligence anyway. They assassinated Amin and launched a massive military invasion of Afghanistan to install a more responsive communist leader. The Soviet Union spent the next decade in a bloody quagmire, sacrificing thousands of lives to fight a CIA ghost that did not exist. The United States responded to the invasion by launching a secret campaign to bleed the Soviet military. The CIA began funding and arming the Afghan resistance, hoping to turn the country into a Soviet version of Vietnam. However, the logistics required a dangerous compromise. To move weapons into landlocked Afghanistan, the CIA outsourced the entire operation to Pakistan's military dictator, General Zia-ul-Haq. A warning of what was to come arrived in November 1979. Empowered by Zia's regime, Pakistani student radicals attacked the U.S. Embassy in Islamabad, based on a false rumor that America had seized the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Rioters burned the embassy to the ground, nearly killing 139 people huddled in a third-floor vault. While the Americans inside suffocated in the heat, the Pakistani military deliberately delayed their rescue for over 5 hours. Despite this violent betrayal, the U.S. continued the partnership. They allowed Pakistan's intelligence service to decide exactly which Afghan groups received American money and Stinger missiles. Pakistan used this power to sideline moderate leaders like Massoud. Instead, they funneled the bulk of American resources to the most extreme, radical militants who aligned with Pakistan's own regional interests. In the rush to fight the Soviets, the CIA accidentally financed and armed the foundation of a transnational Islamic extremist network. By 1989, the Soviets retreated in defeat. The CIA immediately closed its programs and left the region, believing the proxy war had been won. They left behind a country in ruins. Afghanistan was devoid of governance and crawling with heavily armed radical factions that the CIA had helped create. The cost of this neglect became clear during Schroen's 1996 meeting. When the CIA asked for help recovering their missing weapons, Massoud revealed that out of thousands of Stingers provided by the agency, he had only ever received 8. Just days after that meeting, the consequences arrived. The well-funded Taliban swept into Kabul in brand new trucks, providing the secure sanctuary Osama bin Laden needed to build his global terror network. These decades of intelligence blind spots led directly to the September 11th attacks. The 1980s proxy war had finally returned to the American mainland as a delayed and catastrophic blowback. When superpowers act on paranoia, empower toxic proxies for short-term gains, and then walk away from the wreckage, the ghost created by those decisions eventually follow them home.